What's up, guys? Welcome back to Boost Brothers Garage. A buddy, actually David from Performance Electronics, told me that I should stop saying "What's up, guys" at the beginning of every video, because that's what every YouTuber does. I haven't decided if I'm gonna listen to him yet. Anyway, this is a direct pickup off of our last video. I am at Putnam Park, and we are tracking the 5-cylinder 944. Stay tuned. It's been an interesting day so far. So the first session of the day, Alan and I are sharing the car. I'm in B group, he's in A group. And the first session was me, and I made it through the full session with no issues. And believe it or not, since the last time the car was here with the factory engine, we went from a minute 31.5 lap to a minute 26.1. So we gained 5.5 seconds a lap just off the engine swap, which is fantastic. Unfortunately, we had more belt issues because we haven't been able to permanently fix that yet. So I missed my second session. Alan's out in his second session right now. I'm gonna let you hear and see it. One of the cool things at Putnam is they actually will let you come up into the flagging stand at some of the DEs. Look at this. You don't get to get that close to the action at very many places, so it's really cool. LS swapped FD RX-7. But back to the performance difference. I know the dyno numbers weren't, anything earth-shattering, but 5 seconds a lap is ridiculous. And that was on the one clean lap I had where I didn't have people passing me left and right because I graduated to B group, and people are a lot faster than me. Here comes Alan. It just sounds awesome. So I guess the good news is that we're not having any other mechanical issues besides the belt. So our mounts, the bell housing, all the hard parts of the kit are working as intended, which is great. Well, it's about a month later now. I'm sure this is a very abrupt transition in the video here. Basically, once Alan had the car out, he had a number of issues with throwing belts. His first session, he threw 2 or 3. So during what would have been my second session, we went out and we got a bunch more belts. We got shorter ones. We actually got one that was just short enough that we basically took all of the travel out of the tensioner and made it almost hard mounted, hoping that that would help. It did not. So I only got that one session. Alan ended up with 2, but he was plagued with belt issues the whole time. So came home, and that night I ordered my TTR's crank pulley, and we reached out and we got the tensioner pulley with the lips to keep the belt from walking as well. I finally have those parts in hand. This is the stock crank pulley. This is the TTRS crank pulley. The main difference, besides this one being significantly heavier, is that this crank pulley has just a small piece of rubber right here. So it is a harmonic balancer as well, but this does not work as well as a viscous harmonic balancer, which is what this is. My assumption is that the viscous nature of this harmonic balancer is what helps the belt from popping off. As for the tensioner pulley, this is what we received. So obviously, compared to the factory tensioner pulley, which was completely flat, this one has your edges to keep the belt square. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, this does not work for our application. On the rear of the pulley, it contacts the tensioner itself, keeping it from turning correctly, and the lip itself on the inside hits the front main seal. At that point, I was at a little bit of a loss. I didn't know what to do. Obviously, we could pretty easily just try the crank pulley and call it a day. I think that a lot of people do that successfully. However, I don't ever want to have this issue again. I'm so tired of it. I'm tired of talking about it. I'm sure you guys are tired of me talking about it. So I decided that I am going to develop a tensioner pulley that works. So I taught myself CAD, and using the stock pulley, I engineered what I think a good solution is going to be moving forward. On top of teaching myself CAD, I went out and bought a 3D printer so that I could rapid prototype those pulleys before having them machined out of aluminum. Using just standard PLA, this was my very first pulley design. This was number 2. As you can see, I added a lip for the bearing to sit in here. I plan to have the bearing as press fit. Think that's gonna work. I'm not 100% sure just yet. But either way, this was not ideal. So I came up with 2 more iterations, one with lips on both sides and the other a lip on just the front side. And I wanted to test fit both of these tonight to figure out if this one was going to interfere with the front main seal. And it's really, really close. As soon as you put a belt on it, I don't think it would be an issue anymore. But right now it is. So that means that this design is going to be my winner. I'm new to this whole designing of parts things, so I had to hack this thing up a little bit to actually get the bearing in there because, well, I did something stupid with the diameter here for the bearing. But once I put this on and test fit it, everything looks pretty good. However, I need to move the entire pulley in relation to the bearing towards the front of the car 1 millimeter. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to get this thing machined out of aluminum, get the TTRS crank pulley installed, and never look back. With all that being the case, I still don't think that the track day was a waste of time or money. It was important for us to log our oil pressures, make sure that the oil pan was working correctly. This was a known issue. We figured we were going to run into problems, but we wanted to go out and do it anyway. The fact that I was able to shave 5.5 seconds off the last weekend's best time to this weekend's and the new engine only session, I think is a huge accomplishment. 5.5 seconds off a minute 30 lap is huge in and of itself, and I feel like there was definitely more in the car. I wasn't fully comfortable during that first session. It was the first time I was ever in B group. People were all over my ass. I was pointing by left and right. I was a little worried about whether or not the car was gonna break, so I'd say I had, potentially a couple more seconds there. With all that out of the way and my 3-week hiatus over so that I could recharge my batteries a little bit, I had been spending so much time away from the house, away from my wife and son. I just really needed to dial it back for a little bit, which was great, but I'm definitely ready to get back in the swing of things and start creating more content. That means that as soon as I get this pulley manufactured and installed, the car is going to go back on the dyno. All the tuning is going to be completed. I don't know if we're immediately going to be able to get it back on track to finish all of our testing. Obviously in the Midwest, it's pretty late in the year and tracks aren't having as many track events. Where we may be slowing down on content for this particular car, we're going to be picking it up in 2 places. One, Allen's 944 07K build with the turbo, which is going to be great. And 2, something a lot of our older subscribers have been waiting for a really, really long time, and something a lot of you newer subscribers may or may not have even ever seen. We are going to start work back on the Cayman. The Cayman was one of the very first things on this channel. We have a pretty dedicated Cayman fan base, so I'm excited to jump back into that. And let me show you what we're going to be doing. We are building a turbo 3.8 engine for the Cayman. It was originally a 3.4. This has been sleeved. I've got it all mounted to the engine stand, pretty well ready to go. And once the 3.8 build is complete, we're going to be bolting this big boy Garrett turbo along with the rest of the TPC turbo kit to the car. It may need a bath right now, but it's going to be a ripper. This one's all sponsored by Flat 6 Motorsports, so huge shout out to those guys. That's it, guys. Thanks for sticking it out while I was taking a little break from creating content. I'm glad to be back. I'm really looking forward to hearing from all you guys. Ready to start work on Alan's turbo car again, and obviously get my 944 done, back on the dyno, and then build that Cayman in.